Hello, this is me, Dr. Tanya Hashik. Today's topic of discussion is the third phase of the ovarian cycle, that is the luteal phase. So, in the last two classes, we have already discussed about the first two phases of the ovarian cycle, that is the pre-ovulatory phase and the ovulatory phase. So, today we will discuss luteal phase, that is the final phase of the ovarian cycle. So, we have already discussed that this is a Graafian follicle. It undergoes certain changes and finally it ruptures and it releases the secondary oocyte or the ovum. So what happens to this follicle? So after releasing this secondary oocyte, what happens to this follicle? Today we will discuss more about this. The follicle, it folds and it collapses. So in this figure you can see the follicle, it collapses and it folds. So in this there are a lot of follicular cells. So these follicular cells, they are small and round. Suddenly these cells, it starts to enlarge. So it starts to enlarge and it pushes the adjacent follicular cell and finally it attains a polyhedral shape. So here you can see the follicles, it attains a polyhedral shape. And these follicle, the cytoplasm of this follicle, it gets filled with a yellow pigment called as the lutein. So the corpus luteum is formed. So the corpus luteum, it got its name because the cells of the corpus luteum, it is filled with the yellow pigment, that is lutein, and it gives it a yellow color, and thus it is called as the corpus luteum. So the follicular cells, as such it do not have any blood supply. So from where does it get the blood supply? The theca interna cells. It has got blood supply. So these theca interna cells, it invades the follicular cells and thus the corpus luteum, it gets the blood supply. And some of these theca cells, it also contribute to the luteal cells and finally it becomes the paraluteal cells. And thus this is a corpus luteum. And what is its function? It is responsible for the secretion of progesterone and which maintains the uterine wall, and it is also responsible for maintaining pregnancy up to 3 to 4 months. So the corpus luteum, it is of two types, the corpus luteum of pregnancy and corpus luteum of menstruation. If the secondary oocyte is fertilized by a sperm, the corpus luteum, it stays for longer, that is, it stays up to 3 to 4 months. And if it is not fertilized by a sperm, it only stays for a shorter time, that is up to 14 days. Until then, it secretes progesterone. And finally, it degenerates and becomes a fibrous tissue called as the corpus albicans. But if the secondary oocyte, if it is fertilized by an ovum, the corpus luteum, it becomes larger and it secretes progesterone up to 3 to 4 months until the placenta secretes the progesterone. So it stays longer and that is called the corpus luteum of pregnancy. This is the end of today's class. For more videos, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell button.